Hello, we're looking at problem number 2 found in your geometry textbook, page 115. This is lesson 2-5, and it's talking about the reasoning that happens in algebra and geometry. Now, problem 2 here is saying what is the name of the property of equality or congruence that would justify going from the first statement to the second one. Part of writing a proof, which we'll do in problem number 3, is that for every statement you make, which these right here are my statements, okay? So for every statement you make, going from, say, here to here, what had to have happened for you to go from 2x plus 9 equals 19 to just 2x equals 10? Well, technically, whether you write it or not, you're subtracting 9 from both sides. And so what allows you to subtract 9 from both sides so that you can get this step right here is called the subtraction property of equality. So part of geometry is that, or part of proving something is that for every statement you make, you have to have a reason or a rule or a postulate or something that you've learned from previous lessons that would justify you going from one step to another. So again, going from step 1 to step 2 here means that I would have to have used the subtraction property of equality, which simply says that when you subtract something from both sides, the same number from both sides, that the equation still stays equal. Now, let's look at B. B says angle O is congruent to angle W, and angle W is congruent to angle L. So what it says in statement 2 here is that apparently angle O is congruent to angle L, which is the first and the last one here. What allows me to say that or to make that remark? Well, the rule that allows me to say that is called the transitive property of congruence, which says that if A equals B and B equals C, then A must also equal C. That's kind of the idea behind transitive property. Then on C here, the example C, it says that the measure of angle 3 is congruent to the measure, of angle E, is equal to the measure of angle T. And then the measure of angle T is congruent to the measure of angle E. Well, if you'll notice, between these two statements, they're the same two things, they're just said in the reverse way. And again, what allows us to say that is in math, there is a property called the symmetric property of equality that says it doesn't matter which way you say the two things, which one comes first or which one comes second, that they're still equal. Even if you reverse them, they're still equal. That's called the symmetric property of equality. And again, that would be the reason to justify going from step 1 to step 2. Okay? Again, if you look at the got it section here, it says segment AR is congruent to TY, and then in the second statement it says TY is congruent to AR. Again, for the same reason, that is nothing more than the symmetric property, not this time not of equality, but of the word congruence, since we're using a congruent symbol here instead of an equal sign. Okay, it's the symmetric property of congruence. This one, to be able to go from this statement down to this statement, notice that what allowed the second statement to go from 3 times the parentheses x plus 5 equals 9 to 3x plus 9, remember that's a rule called the distributive property. So that would be the reason that allowed you to make go from step 1 to step 2 of that one. Then on C, the way that we go from 1/4 x equals 7 to x equals 28 is that we are going to multiply by 4, but what you multiply by one side, you always have to do to the other. Okay, and that's called, again, the multiplication property of equality. And all that simply says is what you multiply one side of an equation by, you must multiply the other. And that's what leads us to get our second answer here. All right? Hope that was helpful. You're going to use this ideal of every step has to have a reason. That's what the concept of a proof is, which is what this entire lesson is really all about. Best of luck.